Meghan Markle is quaking in her boots at the terrifying prospect of a tell-all book by the former best friend she dramatically cut adrift. The difficult Duchess suddenly severed all ties with Canadian Jessica Mulroney after the celebrity stylist was accused of white privilege in a race row over her failure to support the Black Lives Matter movement. But now, 5 years on, Jessica is reported to have been offered a $1 million deal to write the story of her life and times with Prince Harry's social climbing American wife. And make no mistake, Jessica knows where all the bodies are buried. So close was she once to the wannabe royal that her twin 7-year-old sons carried Meghan's wedding dress train down the aisle as she married Harry at St George's Chapel in Windsor. And her then 2-year-old daughter, Ivy, was a bridesmaid. As a result, Jessica was in the thick of it amid Meghan's notorious row with Princess of Wales Kate as they locked horns over the allegedly poorly fitting bridesmaids' outfits. Prince William was said to be furious that Meghan made his wife cry. But Meghan insists it was the other way round, that it was Kate who made her cry. Two wildly different stories. Jessica Mulroney is fully aware which one is true. As the keeper of a massive mountain of many, many Markle secrets, the 45-year-old was Meghan's confidant throughout her romance with the prince and during the British phase of her marriage, when she was dismayed by suffocatingly pompous palace procedure and despaired of her regal in-laws. When challenged about her book contract, Jessica insisted she has no intention of spilling the Meghan beans. We'll see. But if that's genuinely the case, Jess, don't bother writing it. You are interesting to the reading public for one reason. The Markle reason. Back in the day, the impeccably well-connected Ms Mulroney introduced Meghan to high society in Toronto, where she was filming her legal drama Suits. Soon, the dazzling duo became inseparable, definite bosom buddies until the day they died. But then, dear oh dear, it all went catastrophically wrong as Jessica clashed with social media influencer Sasha Exeter and swiftly suffered an extraordinary fall from grace. After Sasha said that Jessica, and I quote, took offence to her promotion of the Black Lives Matter cause, she was shocked when her wealthy white nemesis threatened to ruin her career. Posting a 12-minute video chronicling the bitter dispute, Ms Exeter accused Mulroney of white privilege, which she found surprising considering her friendship with, as Sasha put it, one of the most famous black women in the world, as in Meghan. Despite Jessica's grovelling apology to her 400,000 social media followers and to Sasha, the Canadian network CTV immediately axed her reality show I Do Redo, and she was cancelled into oblivion, not only by broadcasters, but also by Meghan, who instantly dropped her like a stone. Yet another example of just how ruthless the Duchess of Sussex can be when she decides someone is no longer required in her cosseted world. Previous devastated rejects, of course, include her heartbroken father, Thomas Markle, who she stopped speaking to in 2018, just before getting hitched to Harry, her half-brother Thomas Markle Jr., and her half-sister Samantha, loved ones she grew up with, handed cruel one-way tickets to familial Siberia with no chance of ever returning. Her estranged relatives remain quietly resigned to their fate. But will Jessica be quite so quiet? If she opts to sing from the rooftops, the explosive Mulroney memoir could blow Meghan's carefully choreographed tales of love, woe and victimhood apart. The Duchess, we're told, is afraid. Very afraid. So what happens next? Bombshell book or no bombshell book? That is the question. Watch this space. In other Sussex news, after shattered Harry was told by King Charles in no uncertain terms that his plans for half-in, half-out semi-royal duties are never going to happen, the bizarre revelation by Meghan that her little son Archie apparently doesn't know when his birthday is. In a documentary about the Disneyland theme park, the Duchess recalled taking her kids for a fun day out back in June, during which, according to Mother Meg, Archie said, "When's my birthday?" A 6-year-old who doesn't know when his birthday is. Really? Either Archie's even dumber than his dad, or Meghan's talking her truth again, as opposed to the truth.
Get off one's land is the words. Park closed off as Wills moves in. We've got a new house being put together for William and Kate, Prince and Princess of Wales, and they're going to protect it with a huge no-go area, banning locals from any land around the home. I think that's fair enough. I mean, he's going to be the heir to the throne now. He's going to be the next king. CCTV cameras, massive fencing, landscaping as well, keeping trespassers away from the 8-bed Forrest Lodge in Windsor Green Park. Some dog walkers are moaning, saying the Home Office closing a car park is a kick in the teeth. Well, I'm sure they can find somewhere else to walk the dogs now. Michael Cole's here. Michael, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Mike, and good morning to all the black cab drivers and everyone else as well. I mean, you've summed that story up extraordinarily well, because security is the bane of our lives, isn't it? I mean, it's the thing that hobbles and harasses us all at all times. But it's necessary with so many people out there who are of ill will. One has to think of the family first of all, the Prince and Princess of Wales and their 3 young children, and they're moving from Adelaide Cottage, which is hard by Windsor Castle, to another part of the royal estate at Windsor in Windsor Great Park, Forrest Lodge, 8 bedrooms, a much more grander affair, said by them to be their forever home. And what has happened is that an area, and it is a vast area, 150 acres, has been hived off, so to speak, with a new security fence around it, CCTV cameras being put in. And the local people are understanding that security is needed, but they're very disappointed and very upset because people who were living within half a mile of the Forest Lodge were able to pay £110 a year to get the key to the gate to use the area to walk their dogs or to exercise and to enjoy a little bit of the countryside in the Windsor area. So disappointing for them. There's understanding on the part of the public, but at the same time a feeling of frustration that they cannot no longer use the area that they've used for so many, many years.
Sure. But, I mean, you know, it's a big area, isn't it, Windsor Great Park? I mean, there's lots of other places you can go. And, I mean, normally speaking, I would be sticking up for the people here. But, as I say, I think overarching security purposes, I think over kind of, you know, trump that, to be fair. Because you have to protect them. It's as simple as that. You know, there are too many nutters around these days that you don't want anybody getting too close because it has happened in the past, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's more out than in, I'm afraid, and this constant security concern is always there. It is the house itself, Royal Lodge, quite a grand affair, quite large, imposing, part of the Windsor estate. It has been designated as a royal residence, and that's why it's changed. The people who lived there before didn't need special protection, and the arrangements which had worked so well for so long has gone on, and this has been imposed. A great shame in a way, because it does restrict people's lives, but they have understood it, and you know, the British people are always long-suffering and understanding towards these considerations. Nobody wants anything bad to happen.
No, exactly right.
Is it ever very complicated at Christmas to decide who comes in the family to Christmas or not to Christmas?
Well, I know I'm the last to know. That's the thing. I definitely get that feeling that
You're just told where to turn up on the day.
People tell me where to turn up, and if I don't, sometimes I think that I wouldn't even mind.
Oh, that's so harsh. Well, I wonder with the royals, it seems to be very, very, very complicated, but it does appear that the king is taking advantage of the opportunity to get his younger brother, he clearly doesn't like, Prince Andrew, out of the way when it comes to Christmas at Sandringham. He and his wife apparently not going to be welcomed anymore, all to do with the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Let's talk about this with Rupert Bell, Talks Royal correspondent. Afternoon to you, Rupert.
Well, morning from New York again. It's the morning after the night before.
Well, I want to talk to you about the Ryder Cup. We'll come to that. Let's get through this royal nonsense quickly and get to the Ryder Cup. No, but is this the King saying, look, it's just not right for Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, given this long contract with Jeffrey Epstein, to be seen in the royal family, with the royal family walking to church on Christmas Day and all that stuff? Or is this, frankly, King Charles thinking, brilliant, I finally got an excuse to get this man out of my life?
I don't think they want them photographed with members of the royal family. We saw what happened at the Duchess of Kent's funeral. Prince Andrew taking centre stage, sidling up to Prince William. So I think that's the problem, because any time he makes an appearance, then he becomes the story. And Christmas shouldn't be, given the backstory, it's not a good look for the royal family. So I think what they don't mind them best are they coming to Sandringham, but for goodness sake, get into the church, keep out of the way.
But this is the thing, Prince Andrew doesn't get it. He obviously doesn't think he's ever done anything wrong, but that's, of course, a man who thinks that it's absolutely fine to be friends with someone after they've been convicted of trafficking young women, young girls, underage girls, for prostitution. He probably doesn't think that. He probably doesn't have, should we say, a moral compass like the rest of people. So he and Sarah Ferguson clearly don't think they've done anything wrong. They don't see why they shouldn't be, hello, I'm with William and Kate, I'm with the Queen. I mean, they don't get it.
They just don't get it. And obviously, Sarah, the Duchess of York, has had headlines again, and she's lost so many charities that she was patron of. Her life has unravelled. So I think for Prince Andrew, he's now got to see himself as a prisoner in this 30-room royal lodge.
Let me just get my tiny little violin out. Well, Prince Harry, we don't expect to be turning up for Christmas. I think every family has got one of those couples where, we don't want her to turn up. But he reckons, we are told, and again, all these stories that somehow keep making it into the papers, that he's blaming the men in grey suits for sabotaging a reunion with his father. We know when he last was back, he actually had a meeting with his father. We hadn't seen him for a very long time since he was diagnosed with cancer treatment, needing cancer treatment. But he's making similar sort of criticisms that his late mother Diana made of the sort of men in grey suits and how they sabotage her relationship with other royals.
Well, the problem is this meeting with his father, they didn't want, that is the royal family, any details to come out, because people behind the scenes are saying, right, let's try and engineer a more normal relationship between father and son. When this meeting happened, what they didn't want, and almost probably it was a test, don't go bleating to the press.
And what did he do?
What did he do, or what did his team do? Someone has leaked details, to the exasperation of the royal household. They know that they wanted to try and make it not half in, half out, as probably Harry still covets that sort of dual role, which the king has said, no, that's not happening. I want to make
money, do what I want, but I still want to be treated like a HRH royal.
And that's not what the king wants. Yes, they want the family to come together, and why not? And work out whether they can come to Christmas or not. But Meghan doesn't want to come anywhere near this country.
No. And we don't really want to.
Well, the men in grey suits is also Harry sort of grabbing a headline and feel that he is part of some major subplot. That is not the case.
Well, he's always the victim. He's always the victim, isn't he? Right, let's get on to the stuff I know you really want to talk about. Those watching will see a little bit bleary-eyed, you say, the morning after the night before, because you are in New York and you've been covering the Ryder Cup for TalkSport as well. I have to say, golf is a new interest of mine, having started golf lessons in May. Absolutely loving it. Never been more than adequate, but actually very much for the first time, I'm always forced to watch this stuff, my sport mad husband watching the Ryder Cup, but I have to say it was unbelievably exciting. I mean, I'm annoyed at myself for saying that.
It was a major squeaky bum time was had by all Europeans.
Technical term.
A technical term. I hope you're happy with that, but it basically sums up. I thought when I turned up, like everybody else, this could be over pretty quickly.
Well, bearing in mind, the first 2 days, basically, Europe was complete. Team Europe was in the lead, massively.
And given the circumstances, it was a Herculean effort. But finally, the American golfers turned up, and we had an epic day's sport. It was unbelievable. Thankfully, Shane Lowry found a way to hold that putt to retain it, and then a couple of others got half. The fact that only one bloke won a match from Europe,
but it was like we had to win two points, and there were 11, and we didn't do it until very, very late in the day. Thank God we all went to bed happy. You, I think, rather later than some of us. But there was also this issue over the abuse of Rory McIlroy and indeed the teams generally. Some of the abuse, absolutely outrageous. But I do find it he gave some good, F-off comebacks, frankly. I found it extraordinary that the American team didn't go public and say, this has to stop, not in our name. I think that's really out of order.
I'm afraid it showed the worst facets of American society. Now, you can blame whatever you like. Obviously, we had the president here on Friday, but bearing in mind it was $750 a ticket. So you would thought, that's punchy for a day's entertainment. So basically, it was a lot of people with a lot of money, but their behaviour and the comments.
Absolutely.
It was unedifying in the extreme.
It was absolutely shocking. Some of the stuff and attacking his wife and it was just awful. Rupert Bell, you go and nurse that hangover a bit longer. Talks Royal correspondent.
I think you're going to think what I have to say about Prince Andrew is shocking and disappointing.
Prince Andrew and, well, first of all, yet more from the Epstein files. It's definitely going to be a feature-length sort of drama series, isn't it? The Epstein files. Prince Andrew already under the cosh. His wife outed last week as somebody who publicly disowned Jeffrey Epstein after he was found out to be a paedophile and had served time in prison. She's persona non grata. Charities have dropped her almost as much as voters have dropped Labour. Sorry, that was far too political for an American guest. But over the weekend, he also again mentioned in tapes, it's been suggested that finally our king has found a royal backbone and said, I don't want you or your unsavoury wife at my Christmas celebrations in Balmoral because it's not a great look, I'm afraid, anymore. You're going to surprise me with your comments.
I feel like he wasn't that hostile when this conversation was had, but you're right, according to the report in the Times, Andrew will not be invited to join the family at Sandringham this year.
Sandringham, not Balmoral, thank you. That's why you're good at your job and I'm rubbish.
And this is where I feel guilt. I don't generally advise anyone to avoid church. But in Andrew's case, maybe he could spend a little more time in church privately rather than making headlines next to his famous family. The Daily Beast had an interesting report over the weekend that quoted one of Prince William's friends as saying, Andrew will never be photographed alongside Prince William again. And this was a real win for the Prince of Wales. I'm sorry, but I feel like the head of church, the head of the Church of England should not be regularly seen next to someone on an Epstein flight log.
Listen, I agree with that. And if I was, here you are, he's going to hover his finger over the button, but I'm allowed to have an opinion. If I thought that the Duke of York on Christmas morning was going to that church that I've been to myself with the old man because it was a religious thing, it's not. It's to be seen in public with the royals because he cannot, will not, but he should accept that it is over. He doesn't. He doesn't have that in his brain. There is no doubt that William, who will be our next king, doesn't want anything to do with him or his wife. There's obviously the added confusion of the daughters. I get all of that. But here's the interesting thing from a religious point of view. You might not like this. We're treading very carefully. The head of the church in England got divorced and got remarried in church, and there's many religious people who think that the king has been hypocritical because of that. Listen, I don't know why the king hasn't dropped the Duke of York quicker than you can say Jack, and people will say to me it's because he must have promised his mother on her deathbed that he would look after Andrew. You can do that privately, but there is no way our royal family can be seen, I think, at funerals or in any other instance anymore with that man and his wife nearby. They're done. They have to be... Just go and live somewhere in an island. Off Scotland, I don't mean, that didn't sound very good, did it?
Not the island.
Not the island, no. But do you know what I mean? I see them as trying to generate photo opportunities at the expense of what we all know is the royal family trying to do its job.
That's a really good point, and a point that should be acknowledged. I think that people really resent the Duke of York specifically because of his lack of empathy. You know, he reminds me of Prince Harry in the fact that he just never takes any responsibility or accountability. If he showed any sort of compassion whatsoever, okay, you can say you never met Virginia Giuffre, and he has always said, I never met Virginia. Okay, you can say you never met her. We can have our own opinions as to whether or not that's true, but you should show some grace. You should be a little humble in the scenario.
There's no humility about him. Can I ask you a question? And you have to look straight in my eyes. Why do you think the Queen favoured him as the favourite son?
Ooh, why? I really could not. I have no idea. Maybe because he was just around. You know, by the time she was able to slow down and she had the job was something that she could do effortlessly because she was thrust into that position at such a young age, and she was surprised.
God, I miss her. God, I miss her.
I do too. Everyone was so secretive about her father's illness, even towards her own father. He didn't know how ill he was. Yeah. So maybe she was just in a more comfortable position in her role, and Prince Andrew was there, and Prince Charles was so much older and was running around in bathing suits with women throwing their arms around him because he was a hunk. And Prince Andrew was just, you know, accessible. I don't know because
I've got another theory, but I can't possibly say it on air. Last week, I've got a massive theory. Last week also, we heard Prince Harry arrived in this sort of 4-day trip, and he did all these charities, and he went to see the King. There was this sort of explosion over the weekend. Harry, a very serious statement saying there are dark forces, well, men in grey suits, people in grey suits, I should say. Maybe women wear grey suits, I don't know. They're sabotaging my relationship. Yet again, in my humble opinion, proving that little ginger whinger can't keep his gob shut. And today, the King is reported to be saddened by the fact that yet again Harry's opened his cake hole, and it happens every single time, doesn't it?
Yes, bemused was one of the words used to describe it. You know, what I really was so frustrated about when it comes, first of all, can we both acknowledge that had Harry not released this statement, you and I would have moved on. We would not be talking about the Sun's Saturday article that stated that it was a formal meeting. We would be moved on to the next thing. We might be talking about Harry and Meghan in New York in a few weeks accepting another participation trophy. But instead, we have elevated this article and we're talking about something that Harry himself has magnified. I mean, like how he doesn't realize that it just it goes to show he's.
I would not trust him to have a crap on the toilet on his own without telling somebody. I don't understand why we're wasting our time. The guy is like a colander. Do you know what a colander is? Do you have them in America? Yes. Just water, just holes everywhere, mate. They're just unbelievable. Going back to William, big thing on the front of the Sun today. We haven't got a picture of, we know. Front of the Sun today, get off my land, get off my land. Now, having lived in Windsor for 7 years, William and Kate will be protected by a huge no-go area, banning locals from land near their new home. Quite right, too. The peasants are revolting. Keep them away.
I feel like it's less about the peasants and more about TMZ. TMZ, American media outlets that hide in the bushes to snap pictures of the Princess of Wales.
Seen it.
You know, there are rules against this type of behavior in the UK that American media just does not respect. And as the family grows older, the children grow older, I'm telling you, Prince George is going to be as hunky and adorable as Prince William once was, and you're going to see a rise in attention to this poor young man who's going to be king one day.
Oh, poor young man's going to be king. He's got women throwing himself at him. It must be an absolute...
Well, I just think that they're just trying to ensure that their family stays safe, and it's less about the locals. I know they love the locals. You see so many locals roll up to church at St. George's Chapel and get to experience and enjoy those...
I think the locals, having lived there, will absolutely embrace the fact that the future king and queen are going to move onto that land, and I don't think there'll be that sadness. Can I just finish on something that you will not have an opinion on, because I love having you on? The captain of the US Ryder Cup team said, and I quote, "We're going to go to Bethpage Black in New York and kick the Europeans' asses." The behaviour of the New York fans was appalling.
I'm embarrassed.
And
I'm sorry.
No, appalling. And we battered you. And I'm very keen on America, but I have to say we put the New Yorkers in their place, didn't we? It was appalling, some of that.
I mean, I am really embarrassed by that. I know that the Ryder Cup is traditionally, it has rowdy fans, trash talk, and lots of competitive energy, but there's a line. And what we saw here goes beyond spirited rivalry. It's embarrassing.
Have you heard what Trump said it was? Trump said they're all Democrats. All the Democrats are shouting at the European. It's completely mad.
No, I had not heard that, but I apologize on behalf of my fellow Americans.
Oh, we love you. Listen, thanks so much indeed for coming. And what time is it in LA? Some ridiculous early morning?
It's 9:40. It's fine. We're good. We're up at this hour.
You've had your yogurt and your run out. You're going to go and work out?
I had my avocado and toast.
Oh, did you? I can't have toast anymore, gluten-free.
And of course, not a million miles away, also on the Windsor estate, is our very good friend Prince Andrew and the former Mrs. Prince Andrew, the Duchess of York. They're being told, we don't want you at Christmas, thanks very much indeed, which is not surprising after the publicity for the last couple of years from them.
Yeah, Mike, of course, Christmas, the season of goodwill, when families love to come together and demonstrate their love for each other, or not, except in this case. The King has let it be known that he doesn't want to see his younger brother and his ex-wife at Sandringham House for the traditional Christmas. Obviously, he doesn't want those photographs film of them going to the St Mary Magdalene Church on at Christmas time, and then group photograph of all the royal family. They didn't go, the Yorks didn't go last year because he was involved with a Chinese spy called Yang Tengbo, I think that was what his name was. There we see on a very happy day, a wedding I covered, 1986. They were married 10 years. They've been divorced for twice as long as that. That was 1986. And of course, it was a great wedding. They didn't need any encouragement to be kissed. At that time, they were only too eager to do it. And there's the firstborn child, I think, with them there, Beatrice. They were happy days. Unfortunately, it all went wrong, terribly, spectacularly wrong. You've chronicled it over the years. Last year, when they couldn't go, they stayed together at the Royal Lodge, as the previous king, George VI, always insisted it be called, with the definite article, the Royal Lodge. And that's probably where they'll be. Without their daughters, as it so happens, they won't be there. Of course, for many, many years, the Duchess went to Sandringham, but not to Sandringham House. The Duke of Edinburgh wouldn't allow her in any room where he was.
She used to stay down the road, didn't she?
She stayed down the road at Wood Farm, which, of course, later the Duke of Edinburgh used quite a lot. She stayed down the road. In 2023, the Duchess, Sarah, was permitted back into Sandringham House. There was a reconciliation of sorts. But, of course, it's got worse and worse. And the recent dreadful emails to the convicted paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, put the cap on it. And I think the King is showing his frustration at it all. You know, he can banish them, sort of nice medieval ring to it, hasn't it? Banishment from Christmas. But of course, he's still his brother, and he can't change that. It's a problem that won't go away.
And he won't be able to get him out of the lodge, I'm told, because some people think, you know, they shouldn't really be occupying that now, and particularly given what's happened in the last sort of year or so. But it's going to be difficult to get him out, isn't it?
Absolutely, because he's got a very long lease, 75 years, I believe, and he's spent a lot of money, or some money anyway, at least.
Well, he might be able to make use of Angela Rayner's new, you know, tenant-friendly policies that the Labour government are putting through. He might be able to, you know, get himself a rent reduction if he tries hard enough.
It's always a possibility, isn't it? I mean, in a way, I always thought that the Royal Lodge, a glorious white wedding cake of a mansion rising above the trees in Windsor Green Park, would have been ideal for the Prince and Princess of Wales. Maybe that would have been the preferred route to go. They wouldn't have had to have gone to Forrest Lodge, which is going to be their permanent residence now when they're actually in the south. they still have their house and the hall up at Sandringham, and I imagine that they will be at Sandringham for Christmas as well. Quite a big event, always has been.
Yeah.
There we see them in earlier days with the Princess Royal and and her husband there too. All very, very sad, but there's no way back for the Yorks now.
No.
It's hard to see what future they have, apart from in their own company and on the golf course.
Yeah.
Because,
well, they might have to pull it. I mean, he's got plenty of money, I suppose, so I don't suppose there's going to be too much of a problem for them there. But it is sort of bad news all round, really. But
yeah, well, that photograph's there. That's closeness to Epstein.
Yeah.
And of course,
that was after, of course, he'd come out of prison for being convicted as a paedophile.
So the Sun on Saturday, Matt Wilkinson, their excellent royal correspondent, wrote up something that he'd actually told me about a couple of weeks ago. You know, that actually Harry's story about, I went to Clarence House and my dad on open arms. It's all like, I'm completely forgiven. I'm back in the fold. I'm going to be a half in, half out royal. Yes. I'm back. Yeah. Well, what the Sun reported was that was nothing like the truth of what happened. That what actually happened was that Harry went there. I heard he had to go through the front entrance of Clarence House Palace, which is King Charles's London residence, of course, and that's where, members of the public, charity bosses, politicians who have an audience with the king, they have to go through there. They have to go through security. I heard Harry had to do that. Either way, the story in the Sun said that when Harry got in the room with his dad, hadn't seen him for 19 months. They had tea for 2, well, tea for 3, actually, because Queen Camilla, to her enormous credit, said, I want to witness this meeting to make sure that none of it appears in the press afterwards. So Camilla saying, Harry, you breathe a word of this to the media, I'll know where it came from. So tea for 3, if you like. 53 minutes, 54 minutes, seems to be 2 stories, either 53 or 54 minutes. Either way, all over in less than an hour. And the story is that Harry was taken aback, surprised, shall we say. Let's not go so far as to say shocked, but surprised at how formal this meeting was. There was an exchange of gifts. King Charles gave Harry a 41st birthday present, and Harry gave his dad a kind of framed photograph, which was reported to be a picture of Meghan and the kids. Harry, subsequent to the Sun's report, issued this massive, great statement, going through every single detail. So, not true, the men in grey suits are trying to sabotage my reunion with my father. They said I gave a picture of Meghan and the kids. That's not true. That wasn't the picture I gave, and so on and so forth. Going through every single detail of the story, blaming courtiers, men in grey suits at the palace, for trying to sabotage his bid to get back in with Charles and the royal family. It's like the polar opposite, wasn't it, of the Queen's diktat, the Queen's motive, which was never complain, never explain. That statement that he released was bizarre in its kind of detail and how long it was, and very strange, don't you think?
I mean, I just wonder where the outrage and frustration was when Us Weekly reported that they threw their arms around each other and Harry cried at the sight of his father. And Page 6 reporting how their inside scoop, what a warm and pleasant meeting it was between the two of them. Why does he only lash out at the Sun on Saturday in a report that we wouldn't be talking about today had Harry not reacted to it? He's only elevated and given this story more gasoline and fuel by acknowledging it whatsoever, which is, again, it shows you how immature he is, and a lack of growth, and a lack of learning from the last 5 years, a lack of any education based on past experiences. He just continues to be a child pitching a hissy fit. And I think I dissect this a little differently. I look at the whole sabotage story as gaslighting and trying to distract, because he's very vague. They give no specifics as to who specifically is working against Harry within the palace to sabotage or to create any sort of issue, destruction, who's trying to be destructive within the royal household. No names, similar to the royal racist. It's Harry and Meghan throwing out vague claims again. I think it's all trying to deflect from over the last 2 weeks, people have been reporting, including Lady C, Richard Eden. I've had emails from anonymous sources in my inbox that there has been a plot to tear down the credibility of the Wales family that's claiming William's not working enough, trying to bring back the work-shy Willie. I can list off a million accomplishments he's had since 2025. Saying that they shouldn't move into this new house, critical of them for trying to move their family into a new home to escape cancer memories. What else? I mean, there have been several headlines that have been attacking the Prince and Princess of Wales, and it just felt really odd. And Richard Eden and some of these other reporters are suggesting that this has been a calculated attempt by the Sussexes to tear down the Wales family so that they can slide back in some way, shape, or form to the British royal fold. If they can bring down William and improve their popularity in the UK, perhaps there's a place for them there. I tend to agree with that, and I feel like the entire sabotage storyline is just trying to distract and tear away attention from the headlines that the Sussexes could potentially be behind a smear campaign towards the Prince and Princess of Wales.
I agree with you, and the King has let it be known that A, it's not true that he's concerned about William's work rate, and B, that he's perplexed and saddened by Harry's story that his reunion with Charles is being sabotaged by the men in grey suits. So the King has let it be known that he's not with Harry on this. And it's interesting, isn't it, as you quite rightly said, in page 6, the excellent gossip column in the New York Post and in US Us Weekly, these are both outlets that Harry and Meghan are known to use. So when you see stories about Harry and Meghan in page 6 or Us Weekly, the chances are they came from Harry and Meghan. So what do we get in those two publications? Oh, Harry cried, it was so fantastic. It's quite clear that soon he'll be back working with the royal family, and so on and so forth. Then you get the Sun story, which I suspect is far more near the actual truth. That in fact,
the Sun is the only one that brought us the details about the gifts, and that's another idiotic mistake of Prince Harry and his team to go, well, this part of this is true, because as a reader I go, well, if part of it's true, why would that source lie? If part of this is true and you exchanged gifts, then why would that source lie to me about the tension in the room, about the atmosphere? If I were the secret source, wouldn't the more outrageous lie be to lie about the gifts that were exchanged? So what? Meghan's not in the picture. It's a picture of the Sussex family, which was the report.
Which stands to reason, doesn't it? Here, Dad, here's a picture of your grandchildren that you haven't seen for years. Here's a picture of them. Do you think it would have been an actual picture of their faces, or would it have been the usual thing, picture of the back of their heads?
I mean, I don't even care to predict, because I find those children very uninteresting. I refuse to call them Prince and Princess. They're, Lily specifically, who I will refer to as Lily forever, is an American child. Their titles mean nothing here in the United States. And they've come to realize that. And that's why they are so desperate to have a foot in the UK.
So what this comes down to, Kinsey, I think is pretty clear. There's this guy, this ginger nuts, old Prince Harry, who wants to deliver his version of what he thinks the truth is. It's his version of events. Yes, it was a triumphant success when I saw my dad again after 19 months. You know, we wept. We embraced each other. It's only a matter of time before I'll be coming back here 4, 5, 6 times a year to perform royal duties.
To help William, to help
exactly.
William.
Yeah, this is all his event, you know, and my next year I've got to be focused on my dad and all that. And then the Sun comes out and said, well, far from it. This wasn't what it was like. Quite clearly, with Harry's massive great statement, oh, yeah, they're trying to sabotage my reunion with my dad, rapprochement and all that. The King then lets it be known he's perplexed and saddened by Harry's version of events, by Harry's statement. So the King implicitly is almost saying, well, the Sun is much nearer the truth. So what we've got here is a 41-year-old man, you know, who's not very mature, who hasn't got his own way. He thought he persuaded the people of this country, and indeed America and around the world, that he's back in the fold. He's been forgiven for all his sins of the past, and it's good to go. He thought he'd succeeded in this. A different truth has come out. He doesn't like it. He's stamping his feet like an impetuous, you know, tantrum-prone little teenager who didn't get his way. That's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah, and the King didn't just, in my opinion, allow somebody to speak on his behalf under the guise of palace sources. He took off to Balmoral with Prince William. You know, he took off with Prince William to have some private time, to probably have some strategies about what to do with Prince Andrew and Prince Harry. And that's got to hurt Prince Harry to know that there are likely discussions being had about his future, about him in general, about his betrayal, about his history, about his lack of accountability. I mean, one thing that Prince Harry and Prince Andrew have in common is this refusal to take accountability for their actions or show humility. And I think that that is one of the reasons we'll never see either one of them back in the royal fold.
Exactly right. Now, let's go back to this meeting. What is quite clear, the Sun's done this, other publications as well. The Times, for God's sake, here, you know, very reputable newspaper. So you got some serious national newspapers in this country and I think around the world who said that what actually happened in this meeting, Harry was surprised about its formality, about the stiffness of it, if you like. He's said to have said to palace officials as he got there, he said, oh my God, I feel like an official visitor. Well, that's essentially what he was. He denies that, of course. He says, I didn't say that. But that's what's being reported. But what we do know, we must, I think we can be pretty sure of, that happened in this meeting, according to the Times, according to the Sun, according to quite a few other publications, that the King sat his son down, his problematical, troublesome younger son down, and said, listen, you can forget about all this coming back 5 times a year to maybe take some of the load off your brother, to do some royal duties. Forget about it. Just like my mother said, Her Majesty the Queen, the late, great Majesty the Queen, you will never be a half-in, half-out royal. You cannot do that. So part-time royalty is not available to you. So he got told that in no uncertain fashion, and again, like a spoilt brat who can't take it when he doesn't get his own way. He kind of tries to invent a new version of events, and then when somebody says, well, it wasn't
well, it's worse than that. Yeah. He goes back and strategizes with his team in California, whether it's on video chat or, you know, voice call, I don't know what. But someone from his team leaks that it's all systems go and that he's crafting a new role for himself within the royal family, and that that's a conversation that he's had with his father during that 50-something minute meeting that they had. And I think what is so vulgar is understanding so simply that there's no half in, half out, and that the Queen was adamant about that during the Megxit agreement. And watching Harry try to bulldoze it, whether it's Colombia or Nigeria or 4 days in the UK playing with balloon animals, and then having a conversation with his dad, which we do understand. There was a no half in, no half out. You've made your bed, now lie in it conversation. And then Harry's team or somebody from the Sussex camp leaking to the Daily Mail that a conversation had been had. The King and Harry were trying to craft a new role for him. They were going to be doing joint engagements as a show of unity, and that Harry would be taking some of the pressure off Prince William, who the King had been having issues with due to his lack of schedule. And we find out that that's simply not true, that, Prince William is very busy. In fact, he had competing engagements with Harry the week he was there. And we have found out since then that there are real concerns that the Sussexes have launched this campaign to try to create friction between the King and Prince William, and somehow jeopardize the Wales' popularity in the UK, which they believe would give them an open invitation to swoop in and save the day. When we needed Harry and Meghan the most, and I say this lightly, we don't need Harry and Meghan. They're completely
when was that?
But it was when the King and Catherine were both dealing with cancer.
Good point. Yeah.
And Harry and Meghan were not only MIA, but they weren't sending their sympathies. They weren't telling their audience to stop bullying the Princess of Wales. And it's not out of pocket to suggest, hey, you guys, I need you to tone down the rhetoric. Not only are we spokespeople for anti-bullying, but it's just cruel. We saw it this summer with the Amazon show, The Summer I Turned Pretty. Amazon and their social media channels all went online and said, leave this cast alone. Stop bullying this cast. They're real people. The royal family, when Meghan was getting attacked, when she first started getting negative press, they created social media guidelines, the royal family. And they said, you either follow these guidelines when interacting with our official accounts, or we will block you. They did that to protect Meghan. And Harry and Meghan didn't step up and say, leave this family alone. They're dealing with cancer. The time has come and gone. Harry and Meghan have proven they're entirely self-consumed. And the only objective here is to try to regain some of the popularity Prince Harry misses so that he can pursue and his wife can pursue commercial ventures. And that's all this is. It's selfish.
Typically. Now, you mentioned MIA earlier, missing in action. One person who has been conspicuous by her absence from this ongoing narrative, this strange narrative between Harry and the British royals, once again, basically at war with each other. The King saying, I'm perplexed and saddened by what my son said. Harry saying, no, he's not perplexed and saddened, he's thrilled with me and he doesn't like William. All of that nonsense. Where's Meghan? MIA? She hasn't said a damn thing. Every time Harry seems to be in a world of trouble, she seems to disappear, doesn't she?
Well, that's the truth. I mean, we did see her at Kevin Costner's 805 Live charity event where she was clinging all over Prince Harry like a stink on you-know-what. She was just wrapped all over him, and like the claw was back out. We know that we're going to see them in New York in about less than 2 weeks. So we'll get some Meghan, but the reality is Senabale falls to pieces. African Parks charity starts to crumble, and Meghan Markle disappears. Whereas Prince Harry alienates his entire family and fan base in loyal royal watchers by defending Meghan Markle. He's given up his entire life, everything he's ever known. Meghan Markle never makes similar sacrifices for Prince Harry.
Harry, though, is his own worst enemy, isn't he? He is a bull in a china shop. Whatever advances he makes, he pretty soon destroys them because he doesn't really know how to go about anything. So, you know, after he lost that long-running, ludicrous legal battle to get armed police guards whenever he comes to Britain, rather than just saying, well, I've lost, you know, let's move on, he gives that kind of devastating interview to the BBC saying my dad wants me dead and nonsense like that. So he really spoiled his wicket there. And then he comes over to Britain, and whatever sort of goodness he achieved by, you know, actually orchestrating a meeting with his dad, whatever the truth of that meeting was, he has now spoiled whatever advances he might have made with this a version of events. You know, men in grey suits are trying to sabotage my relationship with my father. This statement, his long statement issued at the weekend, his weird long statement, explaining every detail of what happened in that meeting, according to him, has just spoiled things again. So whatever goodness he achieved by seeing his dad for tea, he's ruined it again with this unseemly row afterwards.
Yeah, we would not be talking about this story if it weren't for his response. We would have moved on. There are other things to talk about. I don't think he realizes the damage that he does. But I have a theory that it's Meghan that really wanted the narrative corrected, because one of the specific details that we get that no one asked for is that Meghan is not in the photo. Well, who would care about that? Who would care, you know, so passionately about Meghan not being featured in the photo handed to King Charles? There's really only one person I can imagine caring about that, and it's Meghan Markle. So I'm thinking that Meghan lit the fire under his butt that led to this very bizarre, very unnecessary statement that blew up in their faces.
And it's indicative of, particularly of Meghan, isn't it? I mean, Harry's just as bad, but I think he gets led astray by Meghan. Meghan cannot take anything even slightly derogatory about her in the press. As soon as that happens, she starts releasing statements. She starts feeding Page 6 or Us Weekly. Oh, no, here's the real... She's so sensitive to anything that's written about her. And she's taken Harry down that avenue as well. Hence, this extraordinary statement on Saturday, which was deeply unroyal. It was the sort of statement that some sort of 2-bit reality TV star might release. Wasn't royal.
No, I didn't do that. Well, I mean, I honestly think we're giving this statement too much credit. I think where Harry really blew up this path for himself, this reconciliation path for himself, was talking to The Guardian, which is notorious for hating the existence of the British royal family. It goes out of its way to discredit the British royal family. Prince Harry is very picky about who he engages with. He handpicked The Guardian to sit down with, and then had the audacity to say his conscience was clear, which is code for I have no regrets, which is code for I wouldn't do anything different. And he said he was not airing his family's dirty laundry in public. He also insisted that, you know, I can't even remember all of the lies that were featured in this Guardian article. But what I can say is, statements like that would infuriate Prince William. That Harry hasn't learned anything over the last 5 years. There's been no growth. I mean, just listen to William talk to Eugene Levy in his new travel series. He talks about how 2024 was the worst year of his life, and then goes on to say, life brings us these challenges so we can grow. I mean, you see how differently their minds work, I mean, Prince William is the one that we should aspire to be like, who says, you know, I had the worst year of my life. I'm so grateful that I survived it. And here are the lessons I learned. I'm stronger after it. I'm more courageous. Whereas Prince Harry is still kicking about, complaining about things that happened a decade ago when his Hollywood, you know, D-list girlfriend tried to elbow her way to the top of the pyramid.
Exactly right. And as I say, what he's doing, this statement and his actions, and Meghan and him, they behave, as I say, like a D-list celebrity. whereas the royals should rise above this kind of stuff. And the king apparently not only has ruled out entirely the notion of Harry ever being a half in, half out royal. Some publications reporting that the king has come to be dismayed because he feels that Harry, you know, with his right-on causes, his wokery, actually stands for everything that King Charles and the British royal family are not. He feels that Harry does not.
You mean always complain, always explain?
Yeah, always complain, always explain. But also all this wokery and the right-on stuff, and you know, Britain, we're a nation of slave drivers, we're all racists. King Charles hates that. So there's another problem there. There's this kind of cultural divide between.
I don't know. King Charles apologizes for a lot of stuff he doesn't need to apologize for, to pander. I know you've seen some of that too. I agree with you that he doesn't think that Prince Harry shares the same principles he does, but I do see King Charles bow down to certain groups that he shouldn't have to appease, like the leader of all faiths. Chill out. Yeah. You're the head of the church, you know, of England.
Net zero claptrap, net zero claptrap, all that, yeah. But
I love King Charles, but you know what? I think the bigger picture that we're missing is this is a man with cancer who continues to show up to work every day and bust his freaking butt. Harry and Meghan are quitters. They love to quit. Whether it's the British royal family, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Senabale, they are quitters. The king has little to nothing in common with this kid. He might be like, invite James Hewitt to tea next time. He might just be like curious. But I just think that
I'd like to be a fly on the wall for that meeting.
Social media speculated that Harry's tea with the king was more than just a major PR push, but was also an effort to fracture the king's relationship with Prince William, the well-behaved heir. Every royal expert that appears on this channel said the same thing. Prince William will have the hardest time forgiving Prince Harry, and Harry meeting with the king would not thrill William. Then suddenly, people claiming to be Sussex sources are leaking to the Daily Mail that Prince Harry is busy crafting a new working role for himself within the royal fold in collaboration with the king, and could even take a load off of Prince William by stepping up for royal engagements. No, thank you. So as headlines amplified that Prince William was the victim of a smear campaign, he's not working hard enough. He's not getting along with his father. Why is he moving again? You witnessed it with your own two eyes. Enter Prince Harry's sabotage claims. Gaslighting. It's literally gaslighting. You can't make this stuff up.
The Prince of Wales has given an interview and has said he is not afraid to question tradition to make sure the monarchy remains fit for purpose. In other times, this would be absolutely, you know, front and centre of every newspaper, but obviously because of what happened yesterday, it's been demoted slightly. But let's find out from Rupert what Prince William means. Rupert, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
So, I mean, obviously a very sad day today as we take account of what happened in Manchester outside the synagogue yesterday. But this is quite a significant interview that Prince William has done. He's done a documentary, I think, with a guy called Eugene Levy.
Yeah, Eugene Levy runs, well, he's a very successful actor, comedian, part of a series called Schitt's Creek. I hope I pronounced it right. Yeah. And then he's got a docu-travel series called The Reluctant Traveller. And within this program, Prince William has given a very laid-back interview, sort of chewing the fat, basically, with him about life. And part of it is, how does he see the future role of the monarchy? And actually, William's always known as someone who doesn't necessarily always like the traditional aspects of being a member of the royal family. And so to hear him sort of verbalise his thoughts is, I suppose, the unique nature of this interview, that when he becomes king, he will look at maybe saying not being bound by tradition, as he says, and always saying, right, we've got to have a degree of flexibility and see how we can modernise the royal family. And then he also alludes to the fact that it was quite difficult for him when his parents were getting divorced, and we know that obviously with his younger brother, the sort of mental fallout, and for William as well. So
Actually, I think it was a very setting the tone as to how William might actually operate as king, which might be in a much more informal manner than we see currently.
Yes, indeed. Let's have a look at some of the things he says. This is him talking about his grandmother.
Your grandmother?
I do, actually, yeah. I do miss my grandmother and my grandfather. Yeah, it's been quite a bit of change. So you do sort of, you think about them not being here anymore.
Yes.
And particularly being in Windsor, for me, Windsor is her, so she loved it here. She spent most of the time here. Showing you around today is very much a case I'm trying to make sure I'm doing it the way she'd want you to see it. She had her horses here as well, as you can imagine, was a big deal for her.
He's obviously missing his extended family. He was very close to the Queen, Elizabeth II, and of course Prince Philip as well. And he also says something about his family can sometimes overwhelm him.
Doesn't overwhelm you. Is there anything that does?
Yeah, I think stuff to do with family overwhelms me quite a bit. You know, worry or stress around family side of things, that does overwhelm me quite a bit. But in terms of, you know, doing the job and things like that, I don't feel too overwhelmed by that. Not now, anyway. When I was younger, yeah, there are bits that overwhelm you, a bit like, whoa, are we actually doing this? Is this sort of happening? But with time and age, I think you feel a bit more settled in that side of things, and you go, actually, I could do that. And even if a few curveballs come in, that doesn't necessarily overwhelm me. When it's to do with family and things like that, then that's where I start getting a bit overwhelmed, as I think most people would.
Is he talking about Harry there, do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot going on. I mean, he's not only his father's, you know, his father and wife's diagnosis of cancer, and he described 2024 as the hardest year of his life. I think it basically reflects the whole nature. There's a lot of family problems for him, and one of the big problems for him is where's his support network when his generation of royal sort of supporters, whereas the king has obviously got his sister, he's got the Duke of Edinburgh, and he's got others around him, and obviously his son. So that's the big problem for him. He does feel that when his, you know, the older generation go, he's going to be ploughing a lone furrow, and I think that's part of what may be overwhelming him. There's also, you know, the Harry and the Andrew issues are all something that add to the sort of worries for not only him, but for his father as well. So it's not a straightforward job. So I think he is a cerebral man, and he is trying to say, right, how can I make the monarchy fit for purpose? But you can just hear that it's not straightforward for him to sort of navigate his way through as the monarchy tries to make sure, and what he wants is to make sure that it is relevant for the country and as a whole. And that's what his main, I think you get the feeling, is that's why he's sort of saying, do the traditions work? That might upset a few along the way, the sort of traditionalists are saying, don't fix it, it ain't broke. But maybe he's saying we do need to adapt in some way, but not seismically, but sort of don't be frightened of doing some things that may not have been done before.
Yeah, and we're going to see this documentary somewhere along the line, I presume. There's a final clip here of him arriving on a scooter to see Mr. Levy.
I do know he's not prompt, and don't think I won't be bringing that up. I'm very excited. Oh. Note to self, bucket lists are far from predictable.
Eugene, good morning.
Your Royal Highness.
Nice to see you.
This is not what I was expecting. This is your mode of transportation.
It is right here.
On the grounds?
Yeah.
I have a very low threshold for adventure, so I've actually never been on one of these.
It gets around quite nicely around here. It's quite fun.
Prince William on a scooter. So when are we seeing this, Rupert?
Well, you can see it. It's on one of the streaming networks.
Okay.
So that's why I think it's Apple Plus. I think, but I mean this is so that's where you can see it. But I think you can hear it's obviously designed for his American audience. It's got that American feel.
Yeah.
But I think what it does do, it may just put William in a, you know, he's had a difficult time. It looks a little bit off-centre in terms of going to this guy and sort of not confessing all, but talking in a very relaxed manner. having a pint of beer with him. Well, I think Mike Tyndall referred to him as One Pint Willie, didn't he, in one of the interviews that he did? So he's not someone who goes out on the lash, but I just shows him more informal, but giving him an opportunity, because Eugene Levy's got charm to burn, and it's probably quite easy to feel comfortable and say a few things. But I'm probably pretty sure also that whatever was given the final in the programme would have been given a final say-so and approval back home here, just to make sure that there's no foot in mouth moments. But I think it was William's very guarded and very sensible, and never actually tries to say anything that would put him in hot water.
No, indeed.
He find his sack and decide, look, we've done it 5 years your way. We're doing it my way now. It's not working. Or are we talking, just talking about the visual you just painted on stage at the 805 Live concert? Are we just looking for anything and we're finding things that aren't there?
Oh no, I think we're actually seeing a fraction of what's going on behind closed doors. For him to be that dismissive of her in public, on a stage, in a clip that is sure to go viral. I mean, Harry was born to this.
Senabale, remember the Senabale clip, like that blew up his relationship with Senabale, Meghan getting on the stage, elbowing out Dr. Sophie Shandaka? He knows better.
She is irredeemable. She cannot stop herself. Harry will not be allowed to have a single moment that is his own. And she's only as famous as she is because of him. And I think he's waking up a little bit. I think he's waking up to everything that he renounced for her. His job, his family of origin, his homeland, his reason for being. What does he do all day? What does he do all day? She's getting severed from Spotify, Lemonada. Netflix is now at arm's length. They're only going to welcome those two back if they're going to sell out more royal secrets, which is debasing. Okay, it's debasing. You are selling sewage. And this one's out here on the stroll trying to get herself into the spotlight. This is an event for first responders who risked their lives saving wealthy homes and people like yourselves. And she can't even let the first responders have their moment. She's insufferable.
That is so true. What did your body language expert say about her posture? Sometimes when she hangs all over him, I wonder if it's because she knows she's not liked. But I also think she doesn't care that she's not liked, especially when I watch that Bloomberg interview. There's like a defiance about it.
Right. It's the equivalent of, what passes for apologies in the culture now, which is if I were to apologize you, Kinsey, for hurting your feelings, I wouldn't say, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I hope you can forgive me. No, I would say, Kinsey, I'm really sorry if you interpreted what I did as at odds with my intention. It was never my intention to hurt you. And so I hope that you can actually just accept this form of gaslighting in which I don't acknowledge what I did was wrong, but in fact, I blame you, the victim, yet again, for not understanding what I was actually up to internally, as if you're a mind reader. And Meghan, in much the same way, her belief, I truly believe, is that we just don't understand her well enough. And the next interview, the next media appearance, the next project will be the thing that makes us all fall in love with Meghan and say how wrong we were. And it's never going to happen because, as I have often said, she is a Blade Runner replicant of a human being. There is not only nothing authentic about her, but she comes off as so fraudulent and so fake and phony that it repels the viewer. And, her constant clinging to Harry, like she's Velcro, I think is manifold. I think you're right. I think he is her emotional support spouse. She needs to be on him at every public event. It's also her way of making sure she's always in the frame. The late Barbara Walters used to have this thing that she told people, which is a very weird piece of advice. She would say, if you want to make sure you never get cut out of the frame or edited out of the photo, link your arm into the subject's arm because then they can't cut you out. I think that's what and then I think the other part of it is ownership. I own you. I'm the boss. I own you, and I guide you where I tell you to go, and I lead you away when I tell you, or I muscle you out of the frame because you're my beta.
Right. Do you think that there's codependency going on when you watch the two of them together, or are there documentaries?
Do I think there's codependency? I think it's more like an S&M relationship. She's the sadist, he's the masochist. That's what I think.
I think I don't disagree. What I thought was so interesting about what you just said too is it's always the next thing. It's always in the next interview they'll figure it out. I'm amazing. I'm the perfect wife. I'm the perfect person. I'm the perfect girl boss. But like what's so crazy about that, and I kept saying this to you when we first started talking, I was like, they could have used Spotify, they could have used Netflix as their own platforms, as their own media entities, and they could have fed us information that just made them look good. But instead they spend so much time fighting back and do weird podcasts starring Tyler Perry and Elton John and Brene Brown. But Meghan has had 2 separate companies give her a podcasting platform. And, to quote Maureen Callahan, there's no there. Like she's had unlimited resources to tell us exactly who she is and exactly why we should like her. And I think she's tried. That's why most of her podcasts always come back to her, no matter who the guest is. But there's just no there.
Once all of her claims against the royals fell apart, this is a woman who has nothing to say. Like, that's her problem. You have to be off. Like, I say this all the time. Like, if you're going to ask people to listen to you, whether it's on a podcast or whatever, like, you have to have something to offer them. This is not a one-way transaction. The thing I hated most about many things I hated about the Bloomberg piece, but the journalist Emily Chang framed Meghan's problem as, will the world give Meghan a second chance to prove herself? Sorry, lady, not our job. It's Meghan's job to prove herself. And it's Meghan's 18th attempt, and she's got nothing to say. And so this is why she always says the same thing. It's amazing when you can actually tell your own story. Well, what's the story? What is it? I'm dying to hear it. We've been dying for 10 years.
Exactly. And then she goes on a Hulu Disney special to talk about how Harry loves Space Mountain, and you're just like, will you two ever just grow up? Like, grow up. Like,
He's
what
a child.
Yeah.
Imagine, Kinsey, all the money, all the access, all the great minds that you could encounter and have conversations with, and apply the soft power of the royal family to really move culture and history and people and ideas. And the best she can offer about her 40-something-year-old husband is he loves Space Mountain.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what you just said that reminded me of this. Well, yeah, the fact that they could have had these significant roles. What did you think? And this is not a political conversation. We're just talking about a state visit, which did great things for both countries. But there's a picture that was trending, and the poor Princess of Wales got some negativity over it. But her and Donald Trump are looking at each other. And, I even had Dickie Arbiter, who used to work with Queen Elizabeth and King Charles, say, I think they were flirting. And it was a really cute little moment. And then we just saw, you talk about that soft power. The president and Melania stepping off a helicopter. Who's there to greet them? The Prince and Princess of Wales. They look so confident and sharp. They clearly get along, with the president talking specifically about how much he admires Prince William during that banquet. Mm-hmm. It's got to kill Meghan Markle to sit back and know that the same woman that I believe was buying domains because she wanted to be president one day, Meghan Markle 20 whatever, is now shilling loose fruit spread, watching Catherine stun in a tiara, walking in slow motion to meet the current president of the United States for a very important banquet.
Oh, it's killing her. First of all, it's definitely killing Harry as well, because Trump made that very pointed toast at the dinner. praising Charles for raising in William such a remarkable son who is going to go on to have great success in his future role and endeavors. Harry, the Cain to William's Abel, goes unmentioned. And, there's nothing more. The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. You are not named, you are not referenced, you are not missed. Catherine, not just her outfitting, especially at that state dinner, but her bearing, the way she comported herself. She is about as perfect for that job as you could get. She looked resplendent. She looked like the future queen she is going to be. And it has got to be eating Meghan Markle alive. Now, Meghan is probably self-soothing by saying to herself, my supposition, I could never have been in the same room as, Donald Trump, the orange Hitler.
Because they rejected him. Remember when she was a working royal, she refused to meet with him when he went to the UK.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when she was still a working royal, they were supposed to be at some event for him that the Queen was there. There's that great scene where Princess Anne is like hesitating as to whether she should enter the room or not. And the Queen tries, get in here. And so Harry and Meghan had refused to go to that. So we know she started this war with Trump long ago, whether it was on Larry Whitmore or whatever. And I think she also was disparaging towards him on some Larry King interview, which wasn't iconic Larry King. It was some other digital show he was doing at the time. She's sitting next to one of her Suits co-stars. But I think she was feeling herself when she was in a position to reject him as the Duchess of Sussex. And now there's a power dynamic shift where we don't care about you anymore. But people were enthusiastic to see him.
She would never, let's say in an alternate universe, she had stayed. We know she was the catalyst for the entire Megxit thing. Let's say she had stayed. Do you think for 1 minute, Kinsey, that a King William would allow such dissent in his realm, that he would allow a Meghan Markle, when an American president is coming for an official state visit with the British royal family, to say, I refuse to be in the same room?
No.
Off with her head.
I just thought it was interesting because in the timeline, and maybe it was 48 hours between, all of the national coverage was on this really gorgeous and beautifully executed state visit. Catherine in that iconic tiara that we saw Princess Diana wearing. And then Meghan drops a Hulu Disney special, which I think the ulterior motive there was to remind us that she's the Disney princess that she told Oprah Winfrey. She was Ariel. She lost her voice when she was a member of the British royal family. She said it again in the Bloomberg interview, something about losing her voice. I think she's subtly trying to tell us that she's this Disney princess. And it's bam, there's the real one. That's Windsor Castle. We see the real one over there.
It's really interesting you mentioned that, because I didn't even know there was one, like a Disney Hulu special that she's involved with that dropped recently. And I think that goes to, it's like Chicken Little. There's only so many times you can say the sky is falling, the royals are evil. Hey, I've got a new story to tell. I've got something going on. Nobody, people have ceased rubbernecking. It's really bad when the car crash that is you and your continued attempts at fame and relevance no longer captivate in even a rubbernecking, let's see how bad this is going to be way. We've all moved on. They've opened up another lane of traffic and we've all cut in and we're moving on with our lives.
I totally agree with you. I just made this argument about Prince Harry accusing a mystery character of sabotage. If you're going to accuse someone of and again, royal racist too, they consistently throw out accusations with no receipts and with no detail. And I think we've just grown numb to them. But also, it really cheapens their brand for me, because you realize that those pictures from Lily's birthday it was probably some sort of exchange. Come to Disneyland for free, take some pictures and post them on Instagram. And well, you do this special for us. It just looks like an influencer or a spokesperson gig. And it's like, aren't you supposed to be like above that? This is beneath you.
You're dead on. And, as you were talking, it occurred to me, this is another sort of flaw in their business model. And, we've been living with this melodrama for like 10 years now. But why on earth would I ever want to listen to, follow, engage with, purchase from two people who are constantly so witless and so unable to steward the ships of their own lives that they're constantly being victimized? They're constantly like, wait, somebody just did wrong by me again. Like if you're middle-aged people with a lot of money and a lot of access, and you're just a victim all the time. You're a loser. I don't want to know you. That's right. Called being a loser.
You're so right. And what's so strange though, is that they're always trying to tell us that they're winning. Like, I know I always go back to this scene, but Meghan sitting back and telling Jamie Kern-Lima, I work so hard. They're always we sold out, and the skews, like she's always trying to tell us she's winning, but actions speak louder than words. If you are winning, you rise above because you're busy. You're trying to restock. You're trying to do this. You're trying to do that. You're trying to make sure everybody's schedules are clear because you've got this exciting new project coming up. You don't have time to issue a statement over the weekend because you don't like an article in the Sun tabloid newspaper that says things were a little frosty between you and your dad.
Which of course they were.
Yeah, duh.
Of course they were frosty. I mean, Charles, remember the very famous photo of himself at 4 years old, greeting his parents on the tarmac after like a months-long royal tour, and the Queen extended her hand, a different time, but like this was not a person who grew up getting hugged and kissed as a child. Of course it was frosty. Later on, Meghan Markle and the estrangement and the accusations, all of that. But to your point, yes, busy people don't brag about how busy they are. They actually enjoy being busy. They like having their minds occupied. They like having a lot of irons in the fire. So this is my other favorite thing she said to Jamie Kern-Lima. And she's developed vocal fry, which, I find, again, insufferable to listen to. But she says, with that freaking expression on her face, this is my eyebrows are knit up. And my eyes are just saucer wide. So this means I'm being really authentic and honest. I'm telling you something that's really meaningful to me. Kinsey, I'm out of the prove it game. I'm out of it, which is an FU. That's an FU to everybody who's like criticizing her, right?
It's like, an FU to anybody that's trying to hold her accountable because she's a liar. This week, Prince William is opening up about how much he still feels the presence of his late grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, around Windsor Castle. It was such a sweet conversation with comedian Eugene Levy on his Reluctant Traveler program, where William admitted, I do miss my grandmother and my grandfather. It's been quite a bit of change, particularly being in Windsor. For me, Windsor is her. She loved it here. She spent most of her time here. The Prince of Wales went on to say, showing you around today is very much a case of trying to make sure I'm doing it in a way she'd want you to see it. Windsor Castle was one of Queen Elizabeth's sanctuaries. She spent much of her childhood there, even sheltering there during World War II, and later called it home on weekends and throughout the pandemic. While Buckingham Palace was her girl boss office, Windsor was where she found peace with her horses and family, and it's where she now rests. For the Queen, Windsor wasn't just a residence, it was her heart. It's such a tender moment from Prince William honoring her memory. It's exactly the kind of thoughtfulness and vulnerability that Queen Elizabeth, I think she would be surprised by, but proud of. So why the hateful attacks as of late? We laid out some of the theories and explanations in Monday's video. A rumored orchestrated campaign by the Sussex camp to elevate their own standing within the UK. Though it's not always the most admirable strategy, discrediting a rival is a fairly common tactic in both celebrity PR and politics. Keep in mind, Harry and Meghan worked with Genevieve Roth, the director of creative engagement for Hillary Clinton, and Sarah Latham, a senior advisor for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. As of early 2025, reports revealed that Harry and Meghan's Archwell paid media consultant Gior Craig over $250,000 for strategic support. Craig previously worked for a research firm known for its work with Democratic campaigns. At the time, the payment sparked criticism and concerns over the foundation's political neutrality. However, I bring it to your attention because I believe there are not so subtle political style takedowns in action. The strategy works by casting doubt on an opponent's credibility, reputation, or character in order to create a contrast that makes the attacker appear stronger or more worthy. I see Harry's camp try to paint Prince William as angry, difficult, even mean, and balloon animal Harry as the joyful, free-spirited one. But he can never quite commit to this bit because there is always something for Harry to complain about that happened 10 years ago. In politics, this often takes the form of opposition research and negative campaigning, where highlighting an opponent's flaws or past mistakes becomes a way to command headlines and sway public opinion. Isn't it odd that work-shy Will's headlines are recirculating, or new vague complaints from Team Harry about palace interference, the same complaints that dominated Spare? In the celebrity world, similar tactics can surface in the form of rumors, affair rumors, subtle digs in interviews, BBC, Tom Bradby, Anderson Cooper, or orchestrated leaks that frame a rival in a less flattering light. In reality, Team Sussex is actually limited on leak capabilities because Prince William keeps his family at a safe distance. That's why I believe you see them lean into the baseless rumor strategy. Prince William and King Charles are at war headlines. Over what? No, seriously. Common sense would suggest that Prince William's priority is likely on his father's health. Meanwhile, he's doing a great job representing the monarchy. Support for Prince William in the United States alone crosses political divides. Polls from 2023 and early 2025 show William is more popular with Americans than the most popular U.S. political figures. A YouGov poll from the Times of London conducted in early 2025 indicated that Prince William is the most popular living royal in the U.S. with a 63% positive rating. Now, I share this as an example of Prince William's success, but those numbers, they gotta hurt Harry. These dirty PR moves can generate quick attention and shift the narrative in one's favor, but they're risky because audiences today are highly sensitive to authenticity, and attacks that seem unfair or mean-spirited can easily backfire. Like in Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, when he described Prince William's baldness as alarming and advanced, stating it was more significant than his own, and noting that William's resemblance to their mother, Princess Diana, had faded with time. By the way, Prince Harry, because I know you're watching, in its annual ranking last year, Reboot Online once again named Prince William the world's sexiest bald man, giving him the top spot for the second consecutive year. The Prince of Wales earned an impressive 9.86 out of 10, placing him well ahead of other famous bald stars such as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Vin Diesel. The competition wasn't even close. You might say alarming. We say hot daddy, okay? And you want to talk mean-spirited? It feels incredibly mean-spirited to criticize the Prince and Princess of Wales over supposed shortcomings, whether about their work ethic or personal choices, when 2024 was a year of relentless attacks and stalking as the princess bravely battled cancer. She has only just entered remission this year. And if ever there was a moment for compassion and grace, it's now. In the long run, the most sustainable way to build a meaningful reputation comes from living a life of service. focusing on genuinely helping others rather than being consumed with self-promotion or self-obsession. In a Vanity Fair piece by Katie Nicholl, she said the Queen's cousin, Lady Elizabeth Anson, told her that the Queen couldn't understand how Harry, who had loved his military career and been devoted to duty, could change the way he did. Anson stated that the Queen was hurt beyond belief and saddened by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's decision to quit their royal duties. I'm sorry, but a participation trophy in New York and 4 days in the UK does not a life of service make. If I had to sum up Harry and Meghan's 2025 in 2 words, it wouldn't be slimy jam. Though tempting, it's self-serving. From relentless Instagram promotion to 2 painfully dull seasons of their so-called lifestyle series, it was a brand over substance year. The podcast? Forgettable. I almost did. Meghan chased money in 2025, the year of the snake, while Harry sidestepped messy scandals with African parks and the unraveling of his Senegale ties. And just when you thought it couldn't be worse, Vanity Fair, American Hustle, and The Hollywood Reporter delivered knockout blows with scathing takedowns. I always laugh at Archwell's vague mission statement. Show up, do good. I mean, cue Harry's surf video. They made their mission statement vague so that no one can hold them accountable for doing so very little. But if you'd like a real example of consistency, showing up, doing good, Prince William continues his mental health advocacy, marking World Suicide Prevention Day in Wales last month. Years ago, he actually spoke about how no celebrities wanted to help him launch the original Heads Together mental health initiative, telling the World Economic Forum, this was back in 2019, there was this sort of elephant in the room, if you like, that had never been grappled. And it crossed between all the different sectors and all the different organizations that we were working with. And mental health was the thing. We realized no one was talking about it. No one wanted to talk about it, he said, of their decision to start the organization. What was very interesting from when we set up the campaign was that not one celebrity wanted to join us. Not one person wanted to be involved in the mental health campaign Heads Together. We rang out to all the people, a lot of people, and nobody before we started was interested in being a part of Heads Together because it was mental health. But look who pushed through and continues to show up. It's Prince William. And what about his wildlife conservation work? Prince William remains deeply engaged with United for Wildlife, which he co-founded and continues to champion in the fight against the illegal wildlife trade. In May of 2025, his commitment was underscored by the launch of a new docuseries in partnership with the organization and the Royal Foundation. He also maintains his long-standing role as royal patron of the Tusk Trust, a position he's held since 2005, where he regularly attends conservation awards, visits projects, and advocates for wildlife protection. More recently, he has supported initiatives such as a Ranger life insurance policy and renewed calls for climate action, further proof of his endearing dedication to conservation. Launching the Earthshot Prize in 2020 positioned him as a global leader in environmental innovation. Beyond his own service, he remains a strong advocate for members of the armed forces and first responders, and his diplomatic role has never been more on display, representing the crown abroad, including high-profile tours and state visits, underscoring his future as head of state.